Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today is sort of how I approach the high temperature electronic space. I'm not going to present a lot of, test data or fundamental materials research. This is more of just my thought process as a practitioner of this technology, a manufacturing guy. So I'm going to bring you on a little bit of an exploration of literally what I think about at home and how I approach this. And maybe it'll inspire you. Okay, so a little bit of a background. I see a lot of familiar faces, but Lockheed's a huge company, so I try to represent where I come from and the sort of a little bit of the background. So I'm from upstate New York in a place called Gaylo, New York. It's a rural spot. It's about 3 hours from New York City, but it's a quite large Lockheed Martin facility. So we have a lot of resources there, a lot of talented individuals on the teams, and a lot of diverse projects, of which one of the things that we're investigating is high temperature electronics. Another thing to note is that we have a high degree of coordination between the Binghamton University in the area, and it's the NextFlex node, New York node. So we are able to access all of those resources to sort of explore some of these newer ideas and get them a little bit more mature before we can introduce them into a product. And we integrate that helicopter, and we also build that circuit card that I show there from the ground up, the entire thing. Here's an umbrella of the flexible hybrid electronic space. People have different names for this: hybrid electronics, advanced manufacturing electronics. But I look at it as an umbrella. There's a bunch of different sub-technologies underneath this. And today I'll talk about the direct write electronics and printed electronics and advanced packaging and 3D selective metallization all in kind of one application. So it's quite a few of these things are going to come together to help solve my problem. Okay, so high temperature devices. Being a practitioner of this space, you have to approach temperature sort of it's sort of abstract. What is 1,000 degrees Celsius? What's 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit? How do you relate to that? So here's some information that may be, and this is just straight from Google or whatever, but an important thing to note, a lot of glasses sort of really lose their properties at 650 C. Okay, well, you would think at home, your glass is, safe for temperature. You would never think that it would be sensitive to, a temperature excursion. So there's really a hierarchy of materials that we have in our toolbox to solve some of these problems. So a polymer, which we use often, polyimide or Kapton, is 350 C in that kind of range, maybe a little higher, but it doesn't get you all the way to where some of these missions and applications are. So having this understanding sort of informs my thinking of what I can use and understand that I may not want to go to the extreme top end of the range here. There may be too many compromises at that with those extreme materials, whatever they may be. Okay, so this is my thinking. This is not new. High temperature electronics is not this, humans are not just like immediately encountering this problem. There's been work in this space before. And there's people not at this conference that may be experts in it. So I think to myself, do I really want to go off on my own and approach this sort of with my knowledge and sort of invent? So I'm thinking space of who's using high temperature electronics, how are they currently applied? And these are all funny AI images that I told the internet to add electronics to random things. Okay, so here's your challenge for the audience. Now that you're starting to think about this, what is the highest temperature electronic device that you may have in your house or in your personal possessions? And you may say, a heating element. The heating element in my oven is a high temperature. Okay, that's the kind of a cheating. I'm talking about an actual electronics, functional device of some sort that has a little bit more capability. So you think about that. Thermocouples, they run your furnace or something like that. So I thought about this, and this is where my training as an automotive engineer comes in. So it just so happens that if you own an internal combustion car, there's an oxygen sensor in that vehicle, and that oxygen sensor could be what's called a wideband oxygen sensor, which is a very sophisticated sensor.